Hello everybody, welcome to another true review. Today I'm bringing you the Technomancer on the Xbox One. It is also available on PS4 and Steam as well, and it's out today. What we have is a sci-fi RPG where you play as a Technomancer. The Technomancers are a group of individuals on Mars who are both respected and feared. They're a small group of individuals who have an innate ability to control and manipulate electricity. That ability is enhanced through use of cybernetic implants as well. And you play as a raw initiate. You've just completed your initiation mission and had the revelation of being told what the Technomancers actually are and how they actually have their abilities, which takes your character a little bit of time to process. You start off at the low rank Technomancers. You can get assigned a couple of partners who help you get through the first initial missions, which are basically policing missions like break up the gangs, escort the diplomats, things such as that. But while doing these missions you get introduced to the world of the Technomancer. You get introduced to the criminal underground, the resistance force, and the various other factions, as well as a number of other companions such as your long friend Dr. Scott and the diplomat Nisha, who you get introduced with as one of the escort missions. And it's through these characters that the world is built up around you, and the decisions you make with these characters through dialogue, and the reputation you're standing with these individual factions affect the game world. Like if you have a good standing with the local crime boss, the local criminals will no longer attack you, which makes the slums a much more friendlier place. But if you do too much for somebody, you may obviously offend another faction as well. So it's kind of a balancing act. You have to decide which way your character is going to go. Are you going to be a good character? Are you going to be a bad character? Are you going to be somewhere in between, trying to please everybody? You've got to decide what your character's moral compass is actually going to be.
Speaks of the first Technomancers.
So the story builds itself up to a crucial point where the local military leader doesn't like Technomancers. He sees you as the weak link because you've just been told what the Technomancer's secret is, and he wants to know what it is. He tries to convert you. He wants to know the secret. And he tries throughout chapter 1 to try and get you to reveal this information to him, and loses his rag at one point and just declares war on the Technomancers. And that's when the game opens up and the game world just explodes into a larger, bigger world, opening you up to like a completely different city where the free people of Mars who don't want to live under the military regime actually reside. And then later on you get introduced to the Mutant Valley as well, where the unfortunate one of the early settlers of Mars, when they first landed, I believe from the backstory, got mutated, heavily burned, distorted, they look a bit like Toxic Avenger. If anybody knows what Toxic Avenger is, if you don't, just Google it, you'll see what I mean. Very, very heavily distorted characters, mutations, and they are obviously second-class citizens of Mars, and they've set up their own nation as well. But the game just explodes from chapter 2. It just opens up, because whilst you've still got the initial locales of the first chapter, you've just got this massive, massive city to explore now, which opens you up to other factions and again more and more companions. In terms of gameplay, you build your character in traditional RPG style. There's an awful lot of ability trees. There's one for each combat stance, which I'll go into in a little bit in a moment. There's also one for increasing your magical technomancy powers. There's also talent trees and ability trees as well, which you use to level up. So there's 3 different leveling up trees that you can spend your points on, and this really lets you be able to make a diverse character. You can make them more stealthy, you can make them more craft based, more science based, which opens up solutions to some mission problems. You can focus on different combat stances if you want to. You can increase the character's health, the character's strength, the character's chance of doing critical hits. So you can pretty much tailor this character to however you want to tailor them. So there's quite a lot of options there. Now, I mentioned combat stances. Now, this is my favourite part of the game, to be honest with you. The combat in this game I absolutely love to pieces. The combat, I would say, is kind of Witcher 3-like. It's one of those combat systems where even a single enemy will take you down if you're not careful. It's not quite Dark Souls level, but you have to be mindful. An enemy will kill you if you are not careful with what you're doing. Even on the lower difficulty levels, you can probably take about 3 or 4 hits at full health, and that's pretty much it. And when you're sometimes fighting 6, 7 people at once, and some of these are ranged, some of these are melee guys, that's not a lot, to be honest with you. So you have these 3 combat stances to help you out. You have a staff, which is good for crowd control and taking out enemies, which is pretty weak in attack. You have the rogue stance, which you use like a knife and a gun, which is a pretty interesting one. It's kind of like your high critical, fast strike rate class. And then you have my personal favourite, the guardian class, who uses a mace and a shield. Pretty badass for blocking enemies. Pretty really good selection of combat stances, and what the beauty of this is as well, you can actually switch these on the fly during combat, and you actually really need to do that because you can be fighting a group of people and one guy may get separated. He'll separate himself on purpose and he will pull an automatic weapon out and fire at you, and honestly you get hit by a volley of these automatic weapons and you are dead. So you need to either be very, very evasive, or, like I say, my favourite class, pull out the Guardian class, get the shield, raise the shield, block the bullets, charge that guy down, and, you know, tell him what for pulling a rifle on you, to be honest with you. It's like, don't bring a gun to a, you know, to a melee fight. I mean, that's just cheap, but you've got to be very, very mindful with all this going on. You can be taking up to like 6, 7 adversaries at once, and then all of a sudden a volley of fire will come from somewhere and you need to react to that and sort it out, basically. The combat is really, really good, and at first when I got introduced to it and it was telling me how to do all the stances, I was thinking, this is too complicated, but after a couple of hours of using the system, it clicks, and being able to switch on the fly is badass because you can be there acrobatically flipping all over the place, whacking them with your staff. And then all of a sudden switch stances. You need like a second gap to switch stances, but you get those gaps by creating space. I mean, switch to the shield, charge people down, block the gun guy, stop the guy from decimating you with his automatic rifle, then switch back and just kick his ass with whatever other weapon you want. It really works really well, and I'll definitely put some footage of a big battle and switching stances within there to react to different adversaries that it gives you. Other than human enemies as well, you do have wildlife of Mars, which a number of different creatures, mutants and electrical based creatures as well. And then even with your combat stances as well, you do have your technomancy powers, which some really good particle effects going on. I absolutely love the I can't remember what it's called now. It's this big massive electrical explosion that you do. It swirls around the floor and there's particles and sparks flying off everywhere, and it just implodes on itself and everybody just goes flying. Really good abilities, and they do really enhance things as well. This is an important feature called disruption, which is basically a stun. Every electrical attack has a chance to stun, and if you stun a guy, you can literally wail on them, and it's like getting automatic criticals every time you hit them. It just decimates their health there. But it just flows and gels so well together, where you can be just fighting and then all of a sudden fire an electrical arc from your fingertips all in one fluid motion. It just clicks really well. The visuals probably don't do it justice of how well it flows actually together. And the combat just makes it interesting, because even just traversing an area that you may have traversed several times already is doesn't seem boring because of these combat encounters that you regularly bump into. Graphically, it goes from being really good to a bit middling, to be honest with you. Some of the desert areas are a little bit bland, a little bit basic, but the slums, the first few areas of slums and the exchange are done really well. Some of the lighting in the slums is fantastic. When you get into the free city, again, completely different kind of graphical style, because you're in like a desert kind of base city there. That's just, again, just completely different locale, but different graphical style. It's just a nice bit of variety, to be honest with you. The variety of the locales is what really shines of it. The character models are pretty decent. They're not the best in the world. You get up close and sometimes there's a few little graphical inconsistencies going on there. Sound wise, you've got music. I love the music in this game. I think it's done very good. It's kind of like synthy, it's orchestral, it kind of fits the tone of the game really well. Voice acting, again, is a bit hit and miss. Some of the characters are excellent, and my personal favourite being Phobos the Mutant. He's absolutely brilliantly voice acted, but some of the other characters are a little bit cringeworthy. The actress who does Nisha, I just couldn't quite believe her character. It was a little bit of a stilted performance, but voice acting is always a questionable thing in games, so it's very tricky what to do with it. And to me, I just think the voice acting did let it down a little bit, but the script and the actual storytelling itself is actually decent. And achievement wise, you're looking at I believe several playthroughs from the achievement list. I think there is certain things that you can't do all in one playthrough, such as max out all your abilities. You have to basically choose a tree, choose a way to go and max it out. So it is going to take multiple playthroughs, which for an RPG is going to take quite a bit of time, to be honest with you. But overall, I really enjoyed the Technomancer. It's just that it's not quite on the levels of Witcher 3, but it's probably the best action RPG I've played since Witcher 3. It's just really fun. The combat brings it all together, really. Great free-flowing combat. Nice range of stances, choices that you've got to make. The story itself's interesting. Like I say, voice acting a little bit patchy, but when it's a good story, you can actually overlook that. Well, I can overlook that anyway. And the choices you make and reputation system does actually influence the game world more than just, you know, through very basic things. It actually affects who will attack you, who won't attack you, and what missions you have available to you. So overall, a really good game, to be honest with you. So I'm going to give a Technomancer a great 4 out of 5. Excellent combat, excellent story, and if you're looking for an action RPG to fill that hole the Witcher 3's left, then this is definitely one for you to go for. Obviously not quite up to the standards of the Witcher 3, I don't think anything will reach those standards in the very near future, but definitely a worthy addition to any action RPG fans collection. So a great 4 out of 5 from me. So please remember to like, comment and subscribe, guys, and hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you on the next one.